It's mid-February and I'm out and about in the beautiful West Wales countryside collecting things for the kitchen and for my dye pots. So the wild garlic season has just started, plus we've had quite a lot of high winds, so we've got a lot of branches that have fallen, so we've got lichen to collect for the dye baths. In this week's episode, I shall be talking about controlling twist when you're spinning, finishing some projects, and I've got a new cast on for you. If you're new here, my name's Becca, and I'm a hand spinner, knitter, and natural dyer, and you're very welcome to my corner of West Wales. If you're an old friend, welcome back. It's sort of becoming a bit of a channel tradition that I show you where I am walking with my dog, and my partner's also taking photographs, so I'll see if I can persuade him to make a cameo appearance. And I'll just show you where we are in a moment. And we are back in one of our favourite places. It's a little country church just outside Fishguard, which is Pembrokeshire, West Wales. And it's a pilgrim church, which means that it doesn't hold regular services, but it is open for contemplation. It's a good place for divine inspiration and design inspiration. So I'll turn you around and show you where we are. There's a lovely little churchyard. It's got some very interesting headstones and lots of wildflowers. And the church authorities don't cut this until really, really late in the season, so that if you come here as a visitor, you can enjoy all the lovely wildflowers. And at the moment, it's just snowdrops that are coming into flower. So the thing I'm looking for is fallen branches from the trees that surround it, because they will be covered in lichen, and when I collect lichen I never like to take it off the trees. I only ever take it when it's fallen on the ground. But you can see it's an absolute beautiful carpet of snowdrops here. Okay, and this is what I'm looking for. Here you go, that is lichen, and I shall be collecting that for using in a dye bath when I've got enough to play around with it. I have showed you this before, and it was in one of my Christmas vlogs. But in here we have a 5th century Celtic cross, and you can see there are crosses carved into each face this standing stone, and it completely depends on the light and the weather as to which crosses are visible, because the one we just looked at you can't really see it, but the two on this face you can see. Let's see if I can get round and show you the other one without making you too dizzy. We've got, see, that one's not really showing up particularly well, and sometimes it does. If it's been raining, it shows up really well. So it's one of the reasons we like to come here, because we like to come and see this cross, despite the fact that I've been coming here for many years, because before we moved here we used to come and visit this area on a very regular basis. There you go, back out into the churchyard. So I'm back at home and in my little fibre arts alcove, and I generally don't work in here. I just sort of have all my equipment in here, and it is better for audio recording in here, but the lighting is not as good as when I record in the conservatory, and the audio in the conservatory is not great, but the lighting's good. So I'm never quite sure which one is best. So because it's raining and because the sound on the roof in the conservatory is really bad, then we're in my little glory hole, which is kind of full of bits of fibre and equipment, and it's not very neat because I'm not a very neat person. I hope you've had a great week, and I've had a really fantastic week. There was a fantastic response to my last video, which is when I was talking about slow knitting and slow crafting and about enjoying the process. and it sort of led on to quite a few really good discussions in the comments, and one of them sort of was how I am not that comfortable with the role of expert, because I don't actually consider myself to be an expert. I've been spinning for a long time, but I spin in a certain way, and I'm in that habit of spinning that way. And so when I kind of push outside that habit, I'm a little bit uncomfortable, and kind of a little bit uncomfortable with sharing it kind of on social media and the internet, and kind of putting myself out there as an expert, which is a really yeah, it doesn't feel very comfortable. So I had a lovely comment with a lady who actually, we had the same spinning teacher, and she was sort of saying, oh yeah, but there are lots of roles within the fibre arts community. So yes, there are lots of roles in the fibre arts community, and one of them, or one of the roles, is the role of a beginner. And I'm very much a beginner at weaving, and so I thought I would share some of the progress I've made on my tapestry weaving, and it is very much a beginner's tapestry, and I've made lots of errors, but it's also really made me think about how brave we have to be to share our works in progress when we are a beginner, because we kind of get all this pressure that we must be perfect, and you see all these images on social media of this beautiful work and you think, oh, but I can't do that. That's not what my work looks like. And so I saw a meme on Instagram the other day, and I can't quite remember what it was, but basically it was dare to suck. If you're a beginner, yeah, you're not going to be that great, but don't worry about it. Just share it anyway, and it's part of the process. And that sort of brings me on to another question I got, which was about controlling twist in spinning. So again, I was like kind of, oh gosh, my nerves got to me, and I was like, oh, every time I turn the camera on, I don't appear to be able to spin correctly. And actually, I do know how to control twist, but how do I communicate controlling twist to somebody else? And I was kind of thinking, well, yeah, I'm just going to show what I do to control twist. And I also, in the comments, just gave some suggestions of other channels where I would consider them to be experts, because I'm really not an expert. I'm a hobbyist. But having said that, I will just show you how I control twist. So bear in mind that I spin on a single treadle, single drive, 1980s Ashford traditional. So if you are spinning on something different, then quite possibly your tension knob's going to be in a different place. If you're on a double drive, then obviously you've got more control than I will have with just a single drive. But I like my wheel, and I've had her a long time, so I'm just going to show you how I control twist. And if you think there's anything else that I should have mentioned, then please put it in the comments below, because I'm so delighted that there is a real community of people who are sharing their knowledge. And I really, if my role is as an inspirer or as a hub for information, then that's great. And I'm really happy to be in that role. And I really think there are more technically accomplished spinners than me in the world, and they probably do better demonstrations. But I think I'm quite good at explaining things, I think. So that was a lot of waffle to say. This is how I control twist. And Caroline, if you're watching, I hope this is helpful. So I'm on my good old faithful Ashford traditional, single treadle, single drive, Scotch tension, built in the mid-80s probably. And Ashford do have a timeline, so if you want to date your Ashford traditional, you can go to the Ashford website, and they have a timeline as to when they sort of changed and various things happened, so you can date them fairly accurately.
The amount of twist that you put into your yarn is a very personal thing, and I'm making a Aran weight yarn on my larger ratio, and so I'm putting 6 twists into this. When I'm doing my ply back test, I'm counting back and I've got 6 twists, and this I find makes a well balanced Aran weight yarn when I'm spinning on my ratio that is 7:1. If I was making a thicker yarn, then I might put less twist in. And what I've found over the years by testing and spinning and retesting and taking note of the amount of twist that I put in is that when I'm aiming for an Aran weight yarn, 6 twists when I do the ply back test gets me a nice balanced knitting yarn. This is very personal, and there is no one right answer because it really does depend what you're using your yarn for. But this for me has always been a really good rule of thumb. When I'm making a knitting yarn and I want Aran weight, I'm spinning on my 7:1 ratio. 6 twists works really well. If I want to make a thinner yarn, so I'm spinning on my smaller ratio, which on this wheel is 9:1, then I put about 8 to 9 twists in it, and I found that that works as well. However, your wheel could well be different from mine, so you've really got to do your tests. And there is a direct relationship between the amount of twist that you're letting in and the speed at which you're treadling, and this just comes with practice. Now I've purposefully over twisted that, and so you've got lots of little pigtails squiggling away back towards the orifice. So to correct this, I'm turning the tension up so that the yarn is being pulled onto the bobbin much more quickly and there's less time for twist to build up. Please feel free to use my numbers. So on the 7 ratio, that's 6 twists, on the 9 ratio, 8 to 9 twists. However, I would really encourage you to work out what is the best number of twists for your wheel and the way you spin. And I have found it to be successful, and I do know other people have found that they have got a ideal number when they're spinning. But really, it's so personal. It depends how much twist you like in your yarns and what type of yarn you're making. So there is no substitution for practicing and sampling and taking notes. So note to myself, take notes, because it really does help you create the yarn that you want to make. So what I'm doing is I'm just going up and down with my tension until I get to a point where I'm getting the number of twists that I want when I'm doing my ply back test.
Okay, so you can see at the end of there, I was experimenting. I was doing a tiny, seeing if I could do long draw, but I mean it's comb top, so you know long draw's not going to be that successful. But I have been really experimenting with doing long draw and also just trying to get my chain plying better, because a few videos ago I shared that I really failed at some chain plying, and it kind of really knocked my confidence because I really thought I could chain ply. So I have gone back and I've been doing some chain ply. So if I can find so this sample is for my next project, my next knitting project, which is going to be a cute little cardigan. And I was thinking I was going to do this sort of graduated self-striping yarn, but actually I don't think I am. I don't think I like it really. I mean, it's okay, but I don't think for a cardigan it's going to work. But as an experiment, can I still do long draw? Yes, I can still do long draw. Whether I can do it if I turn the camera on is another matter. And the chain plying, yes, 3 most important things of being a hand spinner is practice, practice, practice. So been practicing and it's better. So that is probably what I shall be experimenting with next week. But I wanted to just show this in the kind of, oh gosh, look at all my mistakes and look at my wonky selvage. But I have really enjoyed it. and I'm going to continue just playing around. And this is not anything. This is just me trying to work out how not to get a selvage that's wonky, and you know how you kind of get patterns and things. So I will carry on doing that, and I'm daring to share it. This is my beginner piece, and so there are lots of mistakes in it, and I think you have to just go, okay, there are going to be lots of mistakes, but you know, it's good fun, good process. And I definitely think compared to when I was weaving on a rigid heddle loom, that is more my style. Just warping up a rigid heddle loom, or any loom that's kind of bigger than that, I think is going to be my kryptonite. So yeah, that's good fun, and I'm going to carry on doing that. Now, next thing, I have finished my shrug, and I don't know how kind of good this is actually going to look on camera, but so yeah, so it's blocked and finished, and probably doesn't really go with what I'm wearing, but yeah, I think it was a lovely easy pattern. A little bit annoyed with myself for the way I did the stripes, and I might redo another version of this, but you know, it was quick and easy, which for my crazy kind of ADHD dyslexic brain, I need them to be like that, because otherwise I get bored and they don't get finished. So there you go. So that is finished and done, and yeah, I say I really loved this detail. I hope you can see this detail. So this is Rich Man's Garter Stitch. That's lovely. So I will link the pattern in the description below. It's a free Ravelry pattern. So that was finished and done, and that is that project satisfactorily completed. As I say, I'm not crazy on the way I did the stripes, but it's okay. I'll get use out of it. I'm not going to unpick it. I mean, no, it's just not going to get unpicked. So there you go. That's that one. And then the next thing that I've been working on is the sock spin along. I was going to say the spin sock along. No. The sock spin along that my woolen mitten, Carry It White, my woolen mitten, has been hosting. So I'm going to show you where I've got with that. But I'm actually going to take this off because, you know, my time of life, you can't be wearing woolly sweaters when it's really warm inside. Hang on one moment. Okay, back. There you go. So on the needles is very simple sock pattern, and it's a free Ravelry pattern for DK weight, and it was by Crazy Sock Lady, who does have a YouTube channel and lots of really great information. And I thought I would try a German twisted cast on, and she has a the Crazy Sock Lady has a great video on how to do it, which I failed to follow completely and got myself completely tied in, I mean literally completely tied in knots. So I just did a long tail cast on because I was getting to the point where I just was ready to throw things across the room. I'm going to have to go back to that because I am determined that at some point I will learn how to do a German twisted cast on, because it is a really good cast on for socks, and I do love to knit a pair of socks. But it's a very straightforward pattern, and I really am quite keen on the simple, straightforward patterns. Again, I've been knitting for a long time, but I like to knit quite simple things, and it's only in the last few years where I've kind of really recognised that that is to do with my my brain and my neurodivergent brain, is that I kind of have to have things that are going to be quick to do. I mean, it's very weird because I quite like the slow process of spinning, but actually knitting up, it's got to be quite quick or it just does not get finished. So that's underway, so that's good fun. And the other thing that I was doing at the beginning of this video, when I was in the churchyard, I was collecting lichens. So now I believe this to be crottle, and you get a very lovely purple dye from crottle, and you have to soak it in ammonia. I always used to be stale urine. I'm not soaking anything in stale urine. You know, if you are into natural dyeing and you want to be historically correct, be my guest. I'm not doing that. Household ammonia is just fine. It smells bad enough in household ammonia. So definitely stale urine. No, won't be doing that. So that probably is enough for a kind of skein, or and I probably will do it as a skein. I probably won't do it as fibre to start with. And just it'll be an experiment because I've never actually done it. I've seen it done plenty of times, and you know, there's lots of really good YouTube videos on how to do it, and I probably will just give you updates rather than do a full-on tutorial, again because it's not something I've done before. And with the natural dyeing, I'm natural dyeing all the time, I'm experimenting all the time, but I don't actually put out sort of mini tutorials because sometimes they just don't work, and you know, what a pointless video that would be. So I was dyeing with Alexander's and using the Mordant iron. Last week I think I was doing that, and yeah, I mean it's a sort of colour, you know, dirty grey, and it's like, nah, I'm not going to put that out because, you know, who wants to make dirty grey? I can do that without natural dyeing. So that is sort of, that's an ongoing project. So that's my little update. Again, if you think there's anything that I haven't mentioned when I was doing that how to control twist, please put it in the comments below. And I am going to say happy creating, and I will see you next week.